Donald Trump's tariff plan is anything but that. There is no clear organization. There's no clear objective. It is just complete chaos, which is what Donald Trump loves. He loves the corruption, and he loves that this plan, like I said, if we can even call it that, is just on his own whims, that the most insecure man in the country can pretend like he's all big and tough and that he's somehow going to cut a deal. But the deals just aren't coming, which is why Donald Trump, as his handlers panic, just made an insane post that is screwing over the tariff plan even more. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into this Trump post and how his handlers are panicking over the tariff situation, which is really all that we can call it, I want to hear from JB Pritzker, who gave some excellent context on Fox, of all places, of why this plan is causing so much harm.
He's put massive tariffs across the board, and that's going to affect not only the costs for average working families going to the grocery store, but it's also going to affect the sales of crops that we grow in the state of Illinois and across the United States. An example of that, of course, is we're the #1 grower of soybeans. We sell about 60% of our soybeans to foreign buyers, but their response to the tariffs is going to hinder those sales. We were just in Mexico talking to the Mexican folks who are buying our crops, our corn, our soybeans, and they're going to be troubled and challenged to not respond to the import tariffs that are being put on. And remember, these tariffs really are taxes on working families in the United States. So we've got to focus on targeted tariffs. Good trade policy, I might add, is really about protecting U.S. workers, making sure that we're expanding markets overseas, and focusing on lowering costs for American families. And none of what President Trump has done really does that. Targeted tariffs, not across-the-board tariffs.
Okay, so you heard earlier in the show, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that more than 75 countries have come to the table, have reached out. They want to do some negotiating. That includes our major trading partners like Japan, India, Vietnam, and we'll put this up. This is the trade deficit we have with them, and some estimates run even higher. $42 billion with India, $63 billion with Japan, $113 billion with Vietnam. Isn't it a good thing that they're now at the table, at least having conversations about that?
Let's start with this. You know, the damage has been done. The damage of introducing tariffs, pulling them back, and then reintroducing, and then partially pulling them back. That is uncertainty that is causing, frankly, businesses across the board, and especially farmers, a lot of heartache. So we ought to be focused on, again, targeting where we need to, but what we want is free trade in the goods where we're, frankly, at an advantage.
Aside from the fact that tariffs just don't work and the way that Donald Trump wants to use them, it is the chaos that is the biggest issue here. We don't know what Donald Trump is trying to accomplish. He said that the whole point of tariffs are to, strike a deal with other countries for them to lower their tariffs. But then Donald Trump says that they're going to be around forever. So why would any country make a deal? Why would any country make a deal when Donald Trump is turning them on and then turning them off? Why would any country want to engage with this when Donald Trump is saying that we're bringing manufacturing back to the United States, but not actually, because the products that we bring in that are manufactured from other countries, he's not going to tariff? There is no clear objective goal here. That is the biggest issue, is that no one knows what's going on, and they are all afraid to say anything. So before we get into Trump's post, I want to read a little bit about how scared his handlers are right now. Everyone is terrified. Business and government officials are afraid to cross Trump on tariffs. While lobbyists, business leaders, and lawmakers are worried about Donald Trump's tariffs, there's a culture of fear in Washington preventing many from speaking out. Capitol Hill Republicans, corporate America, and White House allies are terrified about what's next in Donald Trump's escalating trade war, but they fear Trump's wrath even more. Republican lawmakers are signaling they're willing to tolerate the pain for now, despite the economic fallout back home. Lobbyists who are quietly prodding the same lawmakers to defend their interests don't want to have a target on their back or their clients. Even some Trump world confidants, alarmed about the tariffs' impact, are hoping someone else intervenes. Well, it seems like the person who is intervening is Donald Trump. Every other day, Donald Trump is contradicting Donald Trump. And he just did it again with his tariff plan with this insane post that makes no sense right here. Trump wrote, "Nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that our other countries have used against us, especially not China, which by far treats us the worst. There was no tariff exemption announced on Friday. These products are subject to existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they are just moving to a different tariff bucket. The fake news knows this, but refuses to report it. We are taking a look at semiconductors and the whole electronic supply chain and the upcoming national security tariff investigations. What has been exposed is that we need to make products in the United States and that we will not be held hostage by other countries, especially hostile nations like China, which will do everything within its power to disrespect the American people. We also cannot let them continue to abuse us on trade like they have been for decades. Those days are over. The golden age of America, which includes the upcoming tax and regulation cuts, a substantial amount of which just approved by the House and the Senate, will mean more and better paying jobs, making products in our nation and treating other countries, in particular China, the same way they have treated us. The bottom line is that our country will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. We will make America great again." So clearly, Donald Trump has gotten his little feelings hurt because, as we reported on this show, Donald Trump got played by China. That is why they caved on the tariffs and said, okay, Apple products, large electronics, these very important commodities that we import, these electronics, we're not going to put a tariff on those. We don't want iPhones to cost $9,000. That would be a big ol' issue. Donald Trump saw the response of everyone mocking him for caving to China. We talked about it right here. And he decided, nope, no more. Or maybe he did. It is impossible to know at this point how much the tariff on China is. If there's a tariff on certain products, Donald Trump doesn't know. Business leaders don't know. He's only creating more uncertainty in the market every single day. Again, this is the reason why the whole idea that they're bringing manufacturing back doesn't make any sense. Why would you build a manufacturing plant that's going to take, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 years to accomplish if Donald Trump is going to turn the tariffs on every other day? Is it going to be cheaper to have manufacturing in America, or is it not? It changes by the hour. It is the chaos that is the biggest problem here, and that is all Donald Trump is about. And it's also the contradictory messages which Jake Tapper called out of one of Donald Trump's stooges in this clip right here.
Yeah, so let's talk about Lutnick and Jamieson Greer, because last Sunday, the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, was on a different show. He was talking about tariffs, and he was saying that what these are going to do is it's going to bring iPhone manufacturing to the United States. 5 days ago, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer told senators, quote, "The president has been clear with me and with others that he does not intend to have exclusions and exemptions," unquote, to these tariffs. But now we know about these carve-outs for electronics imported to the U.S. that you talked about at the top, smartphones, computers, chips. It's a contradictory message. I mean, I understand that you're saying that this was the plan, but Lutnick, it seems like nobody told Lutnick and Greer.
No, I disagree with that. I think that absolutely the characterization that I gave you at the top of the hour is the thing that everybody understood all along. But I can see that when you're getting interviewed here, interviewed there, that somehow, like, not having the time like you and I have now, just show the big picture, can make it so that people don't have a complete picture of what's going on.
Well, Greer is in Senate
think
testimony.
About it this way. No, but think about it this way again, that there are these 232s which are coming, that are announced in the Reciprocal Trade Act, and the things that are going to be in the 232s, like the cannonballs that we need so that we can have something to put in the cannon, those things are in progress. And while those are in progress, these, say, 10% on most of the world tariffs will not apply to those things. And so then there's a question, an interpretation, what you say, okay, if you're not applying a semiconductor to those things, then what does that exactly mean? Because the U.S. doesn't really import a whole lot of just semiconductors. The semiconductors are in things. And it's very, very natural for the Commerce Department, and I think the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, is one of the best Commerce secretaries I've ever worked with, that he had his team go through and say, well, what does it mean to comply with this order? And that's what came out. I don't think that it was rushed or disorganized at all.
So these exemptions are only for items that will help our Defense Department needs? It's not iPhones in general? It's not semiconductors in general for commercial use?
There's a long list, which you could put a graphic up, of the things that are that we're planning 232 actions on because they're necessary for national security. And those things that are on that long list are things that will be exempt until those 232s happen.
But you understand how some people might look at this and say, this doesn't really make sense in terms of the president's larger goal. If the President Trump and you and your team are all trying to reshore manufacturing so that American manufacturing for phones and computers is happening here in the United States, and along with all these great middle-class jobs that would go with it, that you're exempting those items while at the same time the reshoring and manufacturing of the production of sneakers and T-shirts would happen here, and that seems to be completely the opposite of the goal, right?
No one knows what is going on, especially the people around Donald Trump. They are equally confused, which just goes to show his cognitive decline and lack of a clear objective here. They're not bringing jobs back. It's just not happening, especially not Donald Trump, who saw them shipped out by the hundreds of thousands under his administration. And Ro Khanna called that out right here.
I think they're talking about sound economic policy. I mean, it really would have been, they're talking to anyone they can. At the White House, they're talking to anyone they can who has the president's ear. But what they're saying is pretty simple. First, they're saying that Howard Lutnick, the screws and the screwing only is about 0.1% of an iPhone's cost. I mean, you need to, the actual components are memory, or camera, or RAM. I mean, it's like, I understand they have 19th century policies of McKinley, but they need to have a 21st century understanding of the economy. And then they're saying, okay, you really want to do this? The iPhone will cost $1,600 to $1,700, but we're not going to be able to bring it back to the United States. We'll go to India, we'll go to Malaysia, we'll go to Vietnam. And if you want to bring back the manufacturing to the United States, you have to invest in the workforce, you have to have some investment tax credit for the facilities, and you have to be able to buy the things we make in the United States. So all I'm saying is let's have sound economic policy. And I saw the poll earlier. Yeah. This is not a hypothetical. This is not something the president will be able to spin. Either we're going to see new factories come or we're not. And tariffs just aren't going to do that.
Well, when Donald Trump makes these exemptions and he makes these carve-outs, it just goes to show their attempt is not to bring jobs back. It's just to project strength, but then he's taking them away, which also doesn't incentivize businesses to set up manufacturing here because they don't know, like I said before, if he'll just turn them back on. Because there is no clear objective, because there's so much contradiction, because Donald Trump is in cognitive decline, no one can trust him. Why would they? And it is just causing problems. That's what this whole plan is, if we can even call it a plan, which we shouldn't. That is what this disaster is, and we're calling it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.